Hi there, crime fighters. Today was a great In Touch, where Officer Don and Ray the DA discussed the mob violence that's occurring in Louisville right now, and then also the fact that cases should be tried in the court and not in the media at all. Thanks for listening, crime fighters. This is In Touch.
Wildcats. Congratulations to the Cats. That's good news. So what do you think happened in Louisville? Were there any riots? I mean, now that we're soothsaying here, because I know they were having trouble in Louisville. When they lost, did they get upset? And I'm just looking for the.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. All I know right now is that it's that one day down in the waterfront park, I think they call it. There were 200 young teenagers wandering around, and it turns out that they turned into a mob, and they started attacking some 13-year-old girl because they wanted her tennis shoes. Mm-hmm. And so then somebody came to her aid. Next thing you know, he got beat up, and then the next thing we know, we got these kind of problems all over Waterfront Park and a number of other areas in downtown Louisville, and it's that's what happened, and that's not exactly what Louisville spent a lot of money to try to make the downtown area nice and appealing, and they've done a good job doing that, and all it takes is people being afraid to go downtown, and all that is right out the window. So
well, there's a lot going on there. I've been listening to Louisville radio the past couple of weeks in the talk shows, and one of the issues that keeps popping up is race, and it looks like that the victims in this case were mostly white.
Right.
The mob was made up of mostly black individuals, and so people are going, hey, what's going on here? But city officials are saying race is not a factor in this. Courier Journal says race is not a factor in it. But a lot of the people in the community feel a little differently about it, so we'll see how that comes down. But there was, okay, here's the breakdown. There were 7 white men that were victims, 1 white woman, and 1 black man and a black teenage girl. So that's what they're looking at here with this. So that does seem a little disproportionate. But we've talked about this before. We could care less whether the suspects are black and the victim's white, whether the suspects are white and the victim's black for that matter. A criminal's a criminal. An aggressor's an aggressor, and someone who's going to assault another person needs to be held accountable for that, and there really should be no separation between. Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely. This has to do with responsibility for crimes, and I would hate to think that we're going to begin to excuse this kind of behavior and start to say, well, bless their hearts, they just didn't have anything else to do but beat people up. Give me a break. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
And one of the concerns is with Facebook and all the social media things that these people can get organized. People who want to create a mob can get organized like never before. Back when I was growing up, we had the Radio Shack walkie-talkies with big long antennas that you basically would break off as soon as you pulled them out and you were done. You only had the Morse code left. If you were going to do a riot when I was growing up, you had to use Morse code on the Radio Shack walkie-talkie. Now, with Facebook, you can get groups of people together very quickly and create flash mobs. And they're thinking in this case that social media was used to organize some of this stuff.
Well, that makes it very, very... First of all, I'm not going to say that it all lands on the police, because the responsibility of this kind of behavior lands on the people that commit these kind of crimes. But the police do have to be prepared to respond. And I think this was a surprise to the Louisville police, and I think they better have, you got this game coming up, and then you got the Derby coming up, you got all those kind of things.
That's so hard for police these days, because one of the conundrums that law enforcement is facing is people want a fuzzier, kinder kind of police officer, and officers that are more proactive, boy, it's great as long as it's working. But the second that you're proactive and something goes the wrong way, then they pounce right on you. And officers know that. And so it's making officers a little more timid about dealing with this stuff, because they get mixed messages from the people above them about how they should handle it. You know, you don't want to harass people. Or does that mean you're supposed to wait until a crime is committed, or can you use your instincts and sixth sense and your common sense and what you have right there to go ahead and intervene before? For instance, you know, guarantee you that, you know, if this mob had started forming, if the police felt comfortable with going ahead and addressing it, they could probably break it up before something bad would happen. But it's almost like they want the cops to wait until something happens and then react to it, and then they want to judge their reaction to it.
Well, not me, and not the vast majority of people that live in a community. That they want the police to be proactive and prevent these kind of things from happening in the first place.
Well, then the legislature is going to have to back the police up, because here's the situation. Used to, a disorderly conduct was a person in the company of others in a public place yelling and cussing at a police officer, or yelling and cussing at another individual, or trying to start fights, or trying to start mayhem. You would walk up to that person and immediately snatch them up and put them in jail. And then you look around and go, who's next? That's how you stopped these things from happening. You went after the leader first and you took them out. Well, now they've changed things, that they want officers to write tickets for disorderly conduct. And they're even telling them, you know, what used to be disorderly conduct is not, you know. That rude behavior to the point that you're cussing somebody out or being menacing is really not considered disorderly conduct anymore. And so the police have lost a lot of tools.
Well, one of the problems that Louisville's got a balancing act now, and every major city is, not just Louisville, but every major city, and that is trying to maintain order so that people feel comfortable going into the downtown areas or the areas where this sort of stuff happens, and so they're not afraid, and so that what's happening in Louisville could happen in any other number of communities. I want to talk about something else now. This past week, we got a call from an investigating agency who had done a serious investigation and brought the case to us. This is a statewide state agency that investigates all over the state.
Okay.
And they brought a case to us, and
It's a government agency.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We reviewed it and presented it directly to the grand jury because it's a complicated kind of financial case.
Okay.
And as opposed to having them go through take a warrant and then ultimately get to the grand jury. And so we presented to the grand jury, and the grand jury listened to all the evidence, and after they listened to that, then they chose to indict this person or some people. Now, this agency wanted to do a major media event announcing it, and they asked if we would do that. And the answer was, no, we're not going to do that. Because we just don't do that. And here's why. We will talk, in our office, we'll talk about procedure, court procedure.
What's going on in court?
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
But if you want to know the facts of a case, then you need to come to watch the trial, because that's where the facts will be presented. We don't try these cases in the media. Well, these guys were a little upset because that's not the way other places do it, and it's not the way the U.S. Attorney's Office does it. And I said, well, you probably should have taken the case to them then. But this goes into this whole idea of once a case comes to our office, then we're responsible for the management of that case. And I discourage releasing any information to anybody that is unrelated to the case that's not provided for in the criminal rules. We provide information to the criminal defense attorney because the rules require us to give them basically what the facts and so forth is in the case. It's called discovery material. So we do that. We're frequently asked by civil attorneys who are involved in lawsuits to give them information about the case while the case is pending. And what's our answer to that? No. For two reasons. First of all, if you want to know about procedure, we'll talk to you. If you want to know about the facts, then you have to come to the trial. We are not in the business of helping people sue other people. We're in the business of determining whether or not conduct is criminal or not. Now, and the issue comes up about 911 tapes.
Okay. After the case is adjudicated, then everything is transparent.
That's right.
You can get anything you want after a case is. There's nothing to hide. But during the investigative phase of a case, it's not appropriate to be giving information out. Now, what you get into is in some parts of the country, some district attorney offices and some police departments will talk about cases, and I call it grandstanding. You know, they'll grandstand. Now, I know that your policy and the policy of the Lexington Police Department is there's not a lot of grandstanding. There's no grandstanding. There is some grave dancing. Once you get someone convicted, you're happy to talk about them and what they did once they're convicted. I know that, and that's your rule. It's like, listen, once a person becomes a murderer, once they've been convicted by a jury and the case is adjudicated, I'll tell you all about the case.
That's right.
But in the meantime, I'm not. Now, where that hurts us and you is, I've seen this before in trials that we've dealt with, is at the end of the day on a trial, you got a 3-week trial, at the end of every day, the defense attorney comes out, he's in a slick suit, and his hair all slicked back, and there's the press waiting to talk to him. And he's happy to tell the press how that the prosecution didn't prove their case because, and that this is all a bunch of bullcrap, right? And he'll twist things, and he'll say, and the press they'll walk up to you and say, well, you comment, and you'll say, no, I won't. And then they'll just run the defense attorney's comments. So that's where you get into the rabbit out of the hat award, because all during the trial, because all they're doing is running the sound bites from the defense attorneys, who are happy to try to talk and spin things. It looks like that you, once again, are trying someone who's just absolutely not guilty of a crime, but at the end of the trial, 99% of the time, it's probably fairly accurate on the murder cases, the dude's found guilty. And you call that, well, I guess we pulled another rabbit out of the hat.
It's magic tricks. That Larson did a magic trick yet again.
But what's frustrating is if, for whatever reason, if the folks that are covering the cases would actually sit in the courtroom and listen to the evidence and then report on that, at the end of the day, they wouldn't just have the defense attorney's sound bites. And maybe
the media is doing a better job of that these days. And there's the court has made all kind of opportunities for them to be able to get that, what they call a feed, and use video and that sort of thing from the courtroom. But, the bottom line is I don't intend to win it or lose it in the media. And I think people respect that.
Well, and they do, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And there again, as far as the media is concerned, I mean, they're working with what they got. But you just can't feed sound bites during a murder trial, because it's not fair. It's not fair to the defendant. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I mean, you want to give someone a fair trial and find a guilty person guilty, right?
Well, it's an open court, though, Don. It's available to anybody. I tell you the thing that's interesting that the media, the television media, runs in
30 seconds
and wants to talk to people that are in custody, defendants that are in custody. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I hope they talk to them.
Oh, yeah, that I do like.
Yeah, because we immediately subpoena the video.
Yeah, the jailhouse interviews while someone is that's not a problem. Go ahead. We could use that extra bit of evidence that you want to, even if it's a lie, that's okay too. We'll see you next week on In Touch.